Hi, Dirty Girl here, aka Karen Leabo with VintageDazzle.etsy.com, and I am here with my July vintage sales video. I'm going to show you some of my more notable sales from eBay and Etsy. Really just a couple from eBay. My primary site that I sell on is Etsy, but I do sometimes go to eBay for items. Items I'm not sure of the value of. I apologize for the traffic, it's really loud. So anyway, I'm just going to get started, and the first thing I have on eBay is this hotel silver bowl, but it was made by Cristofle, which is a very good silver plate maker, and a little nut bowl, and that I paid $4 for at the flea market, and it sold for $25. I was kind of hoping it would be a bit more, actually. This is moving on to Etsy. Native American turquoise jewelry continues to sell very well, and I sold this Zuni knife wing dancer ring. Came from my sister-in-law, so I paid nothing for that, and it sold for $78, even though it's missing a stone. It's missing that little stone right there. And this is a piece of Mexican silver with these face stones, and these stones are actually very dark amethyst, which is kind of cool, because they glow purple when the light hits them. And I paid $15 for that at the flea market and sold it for $74. I did end up refunding a little bit on that because she let me know that the clasp didn't feel secure and she was going to replace the clasp, so I refunded her like $5, just a little bit to help with that. She didn't ask for it. And this is an Israel sterling silver brooch with a faux opal. It's like a foil back glass stone, and I paid $10 for this, and I sold it for $54. And this is a silver plate Art Deco cigarette case with a kind of a skyscraper machine etched etching on it. I had that. I bought it for $2 at the flea market, and I had it for sale for $35 for a long time, and it didn't sell at that price. So somebody offered me $25, and I took it happily. This is an art glass vase with these stretched tulip flowers on it. Really pretty piece, very heavy. Really don't know too much about it. It's a Murano style, but I don't think it was really Murano. It didn't have a real smooth base. But anyway, I think I paid $3 or $4 for that at an estate sale, and that sold for $45. Another piece of art glass. It's a really nice Millefiori paperweight from KB Studio Cane Glass, and I paid $15 for that. Paid up on that. It was a pretty big one though, and it sold for $55. I sold two other paperweights, one of which I'll show you. The third one was a very small one without a name on it or anything that I sold for $16. And this is a pair of 1980s glasses. There are other people who gave me this idea for selling glasses. There's a real market for them. Dorky Thrifters sells tons of vintage glasses if you want to learn more about it. And Texas Gal Treasures also sells quite a few. It's important that they be in really good condition and that you get the measurements in there. And I think the ones that are like made in Italy or Germany or places like that kind of have a little cachet to them, and that helps. Anyway, I got these at the flea market for $3 and sold them for $34. And this is a sugar scoop that I got from my mother-in-law. And just to give you an idea of what my research is like sometimes, that's the mark I had to work with. It says 95S, And then there's this little symbol right here. I had no idea what it was. She thought it might be Russian, so I looked up Russian hallmarks first, couldn't find anything. Eventually discovered that it was from Norway, and it was Jacob Tustrup, which is a very collectible maker, and that really helps with the value if you can find out makers of things like this. And I sold it for $55. Really pretty, shouldn't gloss over that, beautiful blue enamel. Okay, and this is old Tosco Mexican sterling silver, an onyx ring, and I paid $10 for that at the flea market and sold it for $42. Another sterling silver ring, also Mexican sterling, a big heavy men's ring. Sold that for $58. And snake jewelry always does well for me. I always sell it, whether it's costume or silver or whatever the age of it, it always sells well. Let's see, I got this from my sister-in-law, so I paid nothing for this, and it sold for $29. And it was, you know, a pretty little, not a lot of silver in it. Had a couple of little rhinestone eyes. This is a Peruvian wool rug or blanket or wall hanging. Came from my friend, so I paid nothing for that, and I sold it for $45. Don't overlook the textiles at estate sales, because a lot of times blankets and things like that are sold really, really cheap, and you can make good money on them. And this is a transferware bowl that I got at the flea market. I paid $20 for it, and when I got home and looked at it a little more closely, I realized it wasn't that old. It's probably from the 1970s, but it was still a really pretty thing, and so I sold it for $45. And this is an antique original watercolor of a Venice scene. It is signed and dated 1911. The artist was Virginia Myers, who, as far as I can tell, is not anybody famous, but she made a very pretty picture. And I got that at the flea market for $14, and I sold it for $115. That's the biggest sale I had this month. And was a bit of a pain to mail. It was not a tiny thing. It's well, actually, no, this one wasn't too bad. It's only 10 by 22 inches, so. And this is a chain belt. Always seem to do pretty well with those. I put search terms like hippie belt, boho. It's stamped brass, kind of a Native American style. Anyway, I paid $2.50 for that, and it sold for $22. This is a beautiful piece of Venetian glass by Flavio Poli. It's very distinctive looking. Even though it wasn't marked, you kind of can't miss it once you get a feel for what his stuff looks like. It's also called Sommerso glass because it has these layers. Very, very heavy. And I paid $18 for that at the flea market, and it sold for $95. And I never pass up a wooden recipe box, especially if it's full of recipes. This one had 50 mid-century era recipes in it, as well as the dividers, and it was a nice little oak box in good condition. Paid $5 for that, and it sold for $25. Second paperweight, this is Kerry glass from Ireland. This sold for $29. And if you saw my haul video, you might have seen the story attached to this rug hooker, that this guy took one look at me, pulled this out from under his table like, you need to have this. Somehow he knew I was interested in rugs, which I thought was interesting. This is a Jewel brand antique rug hooker. I paid $10 for it and sold it for $38. This is a piece of cast iron architectural salvage. Bought it for $6 at the flea market, sold for $38. Another turquoise ring. Maybe it's the first turquoise ring. Have I shown you any? I can't remember. Anyway, this one sold for $48. It came from my sister-in-law. A beautiful Nippon chocolate pot. Very Edwardian looking decoration. The mark on the bottom dates it from 1891 to 1921, so I love it when I can date things from the mark. And I bought that for, paid $12 for that, and I sold it for $48. And this is a little pair of brass candle scissors, wick trimmers. I'm not quite sure why I'm showing it to you, except that I only paid $2 for them. They sold for $18. I just thought they were cute. And this is a wooden jigsaw puzzle. I sold another one of these that I bought at the same time last month. This one sold for a little bit higher because it had a very desirable image on it. It's a famous lithograph based on a painting by Edward Eggleston, or an illustration rather, Indian Love Call. And let's see, puzzle. I paid $3 for that and sold it for $28. And this is just a pretty piece of ceramics that I got at a estate sale. I didn't know anything about it when I bought it. I just thought it was really pretty, and it did have a mark that I could research, and it turns out to be Huertas Sevilla, so it's Spanish ceramics. I just thought it was interesting. Paid $4 for it, and it sold for $28. And this is a more Mexican silver. It's a very modernist looking ring, but the reason I really wanted to show it to you is because it was made by Los Ballesteros, which is a very desirable maker of Mexican silver, and that's what the mark looks like. That's a real curly stylized B, and then there's the eagle mark that shows it's older. And that sold for $58, and I got it for free from my sister-in-law. And some button covers. I've sold 2 sets of button covers lately. This one, sterling silver stamp design. I think they're machine stamped. I don't think they're hand stamped, but they're very pretty, Native American style. And those came from my sister-in-law, and they sold for $25. And I believe the other set was also silver and also sold for $25. And last but not least is this Morpho butterfly wing painting. I'm always fascinated and a little bit grossed out by this type of thing, but like these clouds and the lake is all made with iridescent butterfly wings, and then it's also has this domed glass over it that's painted from the inside, so it's a kind of a multimedia thing. It came from my sister-in-law, so I paid nothing for that. And I believe it sold for $28, and I still have another one of these listed for sale. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and I shall be back with another haul video very soon. See you soon. Bye.